excitement is growing as the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines is scheduled to arrive this week. The first phase of South Africa's inoculation program will begin next week after the official launch on Wednesday night.
That's right. The South African Health Products Regulatory Authority last week cleared the vaccines manufactured by India's Serum Institute. At least 1 million doses have been ordered and another 500,000 will arrive next month. Frontline workers and healthcare workers will be first to be inoculated. For more on this rollout plan, let's bring in Health Minister Dr Zweli Mkhize, who joins us now via our video link. Minister, thanks very much for your time and welcome to the program. I'm told you are rushing to the airport, so perhaps let me also take the opportunity to ask that you not be scant on the details, but be as brief as you can in your responses. Shall we start with the inoculation program as a start? We heard that it's going to arrive on Monday, the first consignment of vaccines. We're also hearing there'll be processes that might take up to 14 days before the provinces receive it. But on which day can we expect the first person to actually receive the jab in South Africa?
Well, thank you very much, Ayanda and Michelle. The vaccines will be arriving on the 1st of February. We have a compulsory process of quarantine where we have to do quality checks and look out for contamination and ensure that all the vaccines are in good order before they are released to the various provinces, a process that will take a minimum of 10 days. And after that, we distribute to the provinces, and that will be time when the work will start. So we should expect that between 10 and 14 days, we would have started by then. We'll be able to announce that because the rate determining step is the laboratory checks that have to be done. If they can be done quickly, then of course we are set to go. So everything is just about ready to start with the health workers. And we have 1 million doses expected on Monday. There'll be another 500,000 that will be coming later on during the course of the month. And if there's more, we'll announce.
Yeah. And how much training has been given to, healthcare personnel, Minister, to administer this correctly, but also to look out for any side effects that might arise?
Well, we have trained about 3,000 health workers, and this has happened in the past week. And so we believe that the vaccine is nothing unusual because most of our health workers have been using vaccinations in different clinics and hospitals. So the side effects from vaccines are always something that we have to look out for. So the training, we believe, is adequate to be able to ensure that our people are able to effectively start the vaccination program without any challenges.
All right. Minister, there's still a whole lot of concern about the scale of what we're trying to pull off here by the end of the year. 40 million people within 2021. If you do the maths, that's about just over 100,000 people a day. And that's if we have 365 days, which we know we don't. I'm wondering whether there is a, call it, more realistic goal that government is aiming towards if we don't get to 40 million by the end of the year.
Well, we will always have a problem because if you plan for less, you may achieve less. But if you plan for more and you don't achieve it, you'd at least have been able to go as far as possible. From where we sit, we would say that we need to push. It's quite a tall order. We need to push though, and find mechanisms to ensure that as many as possible of the 40 million people are actually vaccinated. We have only about a year to push, but of course, depends on the distribution of the vaccines. If there are delays from the suppliers, we should expect there might be delays. If there are other unexpected issues that arise in the context, in the process, they might cause delays. So we have to put all of that together, but nevertheless, we can't say to anyone that we've got all the time. We don't. We have to just push.
Perhaps let me ask the question this way, Minister. If we don't get to 40 million, which figure will you be happy with by the end of the year?
We won't put it like that. What we'll do is we want to make sure that as many of the vaccines that are available are actually utilized and administered so that we don't get to be delayed by the numbers because of our own logistical difficulties. But if there's a constraint in the supply, then of course we would have to look at it. But between February we've said from February, we need to take about a year to try and complete as much as possible. It may be possible that by the time we get towards the end of the year, there are constraints in the supply of the vaccines. If that causes a delay, we will understand it. But in between, we need to then say, how do we continue to accelerate and widen the network of our own distribution so that we don't get delayed by logistical issues.
All right, I'm not going to get a figure out of you. Very well. Minister, we also know that herd immunity depends largely on the efficacy of the vaccine being used. The lower the efficacy, the more people we're told need to be immunized. In a context like ours, where we're using different vaccines, is there a possibility that we might need to actually eventually inoculate more than 40 million people to get to this herd immunity?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually, because the whole world has got almost the same problem. The availability of vaccine cannot be assured, and so the numbers can never be determined accurately. We have got an indication of a 40 million, but what we will then do is that there will come a point when we will still have the vaccine available and we'll continue to vaccinate people as and when they require to be vaccinated. So it is possible that we'll have to go much more than 40. It depends really on a number of issues. Even if we had got the 40 million, we won't necessarily stop. Let's say more people come in and say we also would like to be vaccinated and it's more than 40 million. We have to continue on that basis because anyone who requests must be given. But I don't think it's a big problem. I think the other interesting issue for us is that everyone must get the vaccine. It doesn't matter what the level of efficacy is because it should offer generally good protection for each individual. Then we will deal with the intricacies of the calculation at the end when we think that we have got the numbers covered.
Mm. And then lastly for me, Minister, before we turn to some questions from the viewers, we've also heard that part of ways through which healthcare workers and everybody else actually could get the vaccine is by registering online to actually get the treatment. Speak to us about the provision made to deal with people who are on the other side of the digital divide. In other words, people in far-flung areas who simply don't have access to online resources so that they too can register with the hopes of course, receiving this jab.
Yes, I think the large number of the health workers will be registered on the basis of the central database that we will have created. But also, we are going to use the PESAL system to know who should actually be included. And therefore, we're going to be working together with various institutions and various health service institutions to make sure that we can cover as many of the people that are eligible. There are a number of people, for example, who are not in hospitals but deal with health workers, and therefore we need to reach out to those. There are people who are on part-time work and are not necessarily full-time in a particular area. We're going to have to reach out to as many of the institutions as possible so that we don't leave anybody out there. So there would be a mechanism to assist those who may not themselves be able to directly register online. So we'll be able to be flexible so that we cover as many people as possible.
Very well then. Let's turn to Twitter, Minister, where there's a question from Siphelelo, who's raising a sore point in our fight against the virus. PPE was stolen last year. What are the safety measures being put in place now to ensure that these vaccines go to the places where they're intended to go?
I think it's a very, very important point that because I think all of us are not feeling happy with the fact that when we're fighting COVID, we now have to be distracted by the a very bad mark that comes from the level of corruption. So the starting point is that in procurement, we've actually shortened the network so that it's Treasury and Health Department that are going to be involved in the procurement for this particular purpose. Then the next issue is going to be having a coordinating team that have full transparency, that they'll be able to go through to look at the issues relating to the process of procurement, so that if there's anything that's untoward, they're able to look at that. We've got the IMS Interministerial Committee that has got a number of teams. Each one of the work stream is looking out for risks for corruption and any other malfeasance so that we can report that. We've already spoken to the Auditor General to actually vet our process and tell us where they see the risk. And then we've actually got on standby the investigating arm of government, which is a collaboration of all the different structures, which is called the Fusion team. Is waiting there to pick up any reports of malfeasance, corruption, fraud, or anything untoward. With the area that we want to be very strong on is the distribution, that whoever is involved in the distribution, the processes are very clear above board, that there's no corruption, but also we have to look out for issues such as theft. We have to look out for any level of fake vaccines or anything like that. So we are actually, very, very concerned that we shouldn't get, distraction from corruption. It needs to be very tightly managed, and so we want to assure the public that we're looking out for any possibility that it must not really distract us from a successful vaccination program.
Right. Minister, a quick question from AJ asking, how long does the vaccine actually last in our bodies? If I may add, is this indefinite immunization?
At the moment, there's not enough evidence to tell how long it will last. We assume that it's a lifetime immunity. Nevertheless, we hope that, with time, research will indicate to us. For example, you'll notice what happened in the earlier infections of COVID. We were assured that there will be immunity, a natural immunity that develops after the infection. It did develop. Then soon thereafter, we had a question about how long it lasts, and some were saying as short as 35 days, and some were saying longer than that. So it's a subject of research that over a period, we should be able to get answers. It's a very new process. It's only just a year that we've actually had this vaccine, the vaccine and the infection. So there's a lot that will still be learned as we move on.
And there's a lot more to ask, but I'm told we're out of time. Thanks very much for your indulgence. Hopefully, we'll be able to ventilate these issues with you sooner rather than later. Absolutely. Look forward to it, and we'll hold you to it. Minister Zweli Mkhize, the Health Minister, they're joining us via our video link. And there are a whole host of questions, aren't there? Things around the trends we're currently seeing as the infections go down, but the deaths are still stubbornly high. Once again, hopefully the Minister will be available for us to clarify those issues.